In this episode, we're going to talk about what doesn't create success. Because so often we know so much, and so often we get told what goes and creates success, whatever that success is for us in our lives. But often there are certain things that hold us back. A belief about, let's say, our upbringing, or we don't have the schooling or age, many of these factors. Hence, we're going to talk about what are the 7 things that don't create success, and frankly, that a lot of people buy into these philosophies, and it limits them from going and having the success financially, emotionally, physically, mentally, in all areas of their lives. It stops them. That's what we're going to talk about in this episode. Welcome to episode 19 of the Accelerated Achievement Show. What doesn't create success? We're going to go over 7 factors that aren't directly correlated to success, even though a lot of people think they are. People think that this aspect over here, this factor, correlates, meaning if this is higher, it must mean that I get more success. For example, if I'm born wealthier, it must mean that I'm financially more successful later on. When those factors, for example, don't have a correlation, meaning despite whatever this metric number 1 is, doesn't correlate to metric number 2, or the correlation isn't strong. So let's jump into it. Number 1, first thing is genetics and DNA. So often we hear, and if anyone's not been involved in this work of personal growth, they think that their biology, they think that their genetics, they think that their DNA, their wiring is what creates their level of success in their health, in their wealth, in their finances, in their relationships, and all of these different areas. They think that it's genetical. They think that they can't change their own genetics, and it's their genetics that creates their success. And it's a very limiting thinking pattern, and also it's very inaccurate. Just like I said, often it's not the things that we don't know, it's often the things that we know but frankly aren't actually true. We may have heard it, we may have picked up some of these beliefs from parents, grandparents, from family, from teachers, from friends, may have picked it up from wherever it is. We've picked up these beliefs, for example, that my genetics, my DNA is what creates success. Certain studies show that and estimate now, for example, in health, less than 10% of that of genetics actually plays a role, and lifestyle and nutrition play a much bigger role. Same with wealth. Genetics and DNA create far less, they have far less of a correlation on success than people think. And when we go through this, as you go through this episode here, number 19, I challenge you and implore you to think about, have you let these 7 beliefs, these 7 things, have you let them limit you in the past? So number 1, where are you letting the fact that, hey, maybe you're not genetically superior limit you? Because our genetics don't correlate to success. We know stories now, and we know based on years of research in neuroscience, in human psychology, human behavior, that these factors don't correlate to success very strongly. So number 1 is genetics and DNA. Our genetics don't create our success. Our biology isn't the results that we get, and so much more of it is in your control. That's the good news. The fact that you have far greater control. We as human beings have far greater level of control about our success, about our skill, about the extraordinary lives and dreams and hopes that we have. We have so much more control than we think, and that's the point of this episode. That's number 1. Second metric is age. People think that the older you are, the wiser you are, or the wealthier you are, or the better you are at a certain skill. They think that age correlates to success. And a lot of people, if you hang around with a lot of older people that again aren't involved in this work of personal growth, of self-improvement, a lot of people will tell you, hey, the older you are, when you're older, you have wisdom, you have life experience, and people younger just don't have that. And once again, if you go into any skill, and if you think about this really logically, from a scientific standpoint, you'll know that age doesn't correlate to how wise or skilled you are. If someone goes and let's say they're putting in 2 years, every day they're putting in work to become great at what they do, they're gonna have more skill than someone who's, for example, much older but isn't working as hard on that. Your hard work and aspects like that, your motivation, your productivity have far stronger correlations to success in many areas of our lives than, once again, number 2 here, which is age. So if you're watching this, some people watching this may think, hey, I'm too young, I'm too old to be able to go and achieve that. These are beliefs that I sometimes had around certain goals, but again, know that there's correlations. The correlations aren't strong to success. And this way of thinking, if anyone else who looks like you, who has the same youth or the same age as you, was able to go and achieve similar things to what you want, you can too. Don't let your age limit you. Number 3 is race. Again, we know stories, we've heard stories. If we've looked into this work, if we're hungry to find them, we'll find stories of people, different races, different genders, different nationalities going out and succeeding. So your race, and then also beyond this, gender, they don't also have a correlation to success. That's the third thing that doesn't create success. And at the end of this, I'm going to share a few things that we have found that correlate to greater levels of success in your health, in your wealth, in your relationships, in your level of happiness and fulfillment in life. So those are the first 3. Number 4, schooling and education level. So many people I see that I've been able to go and travel around the world and see, and often when you talk to them, you'll find that they're limited by the fact that they haven't gone to college or they haven't graduated from the greatest universities, and they let that limit them in their life. They think that because they didn't go to Harvard or Stanford, they didn't go to these great schools, and whatever the greatest schools are in your country, wherever you're watching this from, they think that because they didn't go there, it means that they won't achieve as much as life. And it's sad, but once again, if we want to find something, we will. And we know people, there are so many examples now and throughout history of people that dropped out of schooling, dropped out of college, dropped out of school, and are some of the world's most highest achievers, some of the world's most successful people. So again, if you think that schooling, the fact that you didn't have the right schooling and you didn't go to the best schools is what's going to stop you, and it doesn't let you, because you didn't do that, you can't succeed the way that you want to, those big ambitions you have, it's frankly, a false belief. And you must have the courage to be able to look at the other point of view and step into the truth that, based on what we found now in research, years and years of research for me personally and for us as human beings, well, we found that there's not a strong correlation between your education level, meaning if you go to a better school, doesn't mean you're going to be more successful. And there are certain statistics that show that, and this is a little bit contrary, that show that people that go to better schools earn more money on average. But it's only because those numbers are skewed, hugely skewed, because if someone goes and pays $300,000 for university or for college, of course, often they come from a very different background, they come from a different economical background, hence that number is very skewed. But the university wants you to believe, the college wants you to believe that that's true, when in fact we found that it's not. So if you want to make huge amounts of wealth, huge amount of health, huge amount of relational success, huge amount of health, of wealth, of happiness, of fulfillment in your life, don't let that limit you. Even if you didn't go to the best school. I chose to drop out of high school when I was 13, 14 years old, because I understood that schooling doesn't correlate to success. So that's number 4. Genetics, DNA, age, race, gender, schooling. These things don't correlate. Number 5, and this one is very unexpected for a lot of people, is experience. Experience doesn't correlate to skill or success. People might think, hey, for example, if you're going into a job interview, one of the first questions you get asked is, how much experience do you have in this area, in this field, in this industry? Because they assume that if you've been in this industry for a number of years, if you've been in the fashion industry, if you've been doing your certain job in customer support, if you've been a sales rep for 5 years that you'll be better at your job. It's an assumption, but again, it's not correct. It's not accurate. And just because you've been doing things for a long time doesn't mean you're good at it. We know that. Logically, we know that. Just because you do something for a long time doesn't mean you get good. And often people get complacent. They don't get better. Just because they've been in the job for 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years doesn't mean that they're necessarily better. Often they plateau, they get complacent. Hence, there's multiple ways we can apply this. If you're hiring someone, or if you're being hired, or just this general understanding that just because you have 5 years of experience doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be better. There's a lot of stories now that, again, if you're open to finding them, open to seeing them, you'll find them in the news of stories of new, straight out of school hotshots being hired over veterans in the field with 5, 10, 15 years of experience, because experience doesn't correlate to success. So for example, if you're new into an industry, if you just started your business, or if you just started into your new career, understand that you can have a good advantage if you're a fast learner, and you have an advantage also because you now know that experience doesn't correlate to success. Hence, it's about different aspects, things like motivation, things like how quickly you learn that will give you that edge. So that's the next one, about what doesn't correlate to success. So we have genetics, we have age, we have experience, all of these misconceptions about things that don't correlate to success. Number 6, talent. This is a very big discussion if you're involved in it, in the fields of neuroscience and success and achievement studies. Massive debate about talent. How much does talent correlate to success? Meaning, are you naturally born good at certain things or not? And often, as we know, if you've ever watched a motivational video, your talent doesn't necessarily create your success, and talent will be beat out by hard work every single day. And you won't just hear that in a motivational video, you'll hear in a video like this, which comes from more practical, more scientific based, more based on the research that we've had in the fields of neuroscience, human psychology, performance psychology, positive psychology, human behavior, all of these different fields, years and years of research to find that talent, no matter how much natural gifts you'll have. And if you go and read quotes about it, you'll find great people like Albert Einstein saying that they don't have natural born genius. They don't have natural born talent, but it's different aspects that go and create their success. And again, as you're watching this episode, think about, okay, where are you letting these limit you? Where you say to yourself maybe, hey, I just don't have the talent for this, or I'm just too young, or I don't have the schooling in place, the traditional schooling, didn't go to those greatest universities or colleges. Where are these things limiting you? And understand that all of these factors I'm sharing here, people think that they correlate to success because that's what the media wants us to believe, but they actually don't. There's a lot of science that I'll be sharing in other episodes and sharing along that I share with my customers and clients all around the world that back up the fact that these don't correlate to success and other aspects do. Other things do. And then the last one we talked about briefly before, around gender. Gender doesn't correlate, and there are certain industries where it gives you a slight advantage, but it gives you only a fractional advantage compared to things like hard work. How many hours are you putting into your craft, into what you do, compared to things like productivity? Are you able to project plan effectively? Are you able to prioritize effectively? And for example, next one, skill. Skill correlates far closer to success, meaning how good are you at what you do. Next one, things like influence correlate to business success. How charismatic are you? Next one, the ability to simply last longer. That longevity, that persistence, once again, correlates to success far closer than age and IQ and talent and all of these different things. So I hope as you're watching this, think about, where am I buying into this? And if you're challenging, if you're like, no, talent is what's gonna make the difference for me, I suggest that you go and look at it through fresh eyes, be open to alternatives and go and really research this stuff and understand that even if someone has all of these 7 things, it doesn't guarantee their success. And we hear of people who are high school dropouts, college dropouts that go and succeed. We hear people that are incredibly young or incredibly old on the other side of the spectrum that go and succeed, showing us that these factors don't have a strong correlation. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure if you do, comment below with what did you learn from this? What was the biggest aha? What was the biggest epiphany? What was the biggest realization? Maybe you noticed stuff before, but it reminded you, created that reinforcement in your mind, reminding you that, hey, don't let the fact that you might not have the talent or the age or the experience limit you. So like this, make sure you like this below, make sure you comment below with what was your greatest realization, your greatest lesson from this. Share it out with other people and follow or subscribe wherever you're watching this to make sure you stay tuned for more episodes of the Accelerated Achievement Show, helping people step up into a new level of potential, new level of achievement in their lives and accelerating that process to greater levels of success. Make sure you like, comment, share. Stay tuned for more episodes of the Accelerated Achievement Show.
Achievement accelerated with the Accelerated Achievement Show.